Hello, I'm Tony Bowen, and in this video, we're going to be covering my friend Bob Williams' rebuilding of his Chicago Great Western N-scale layout. So about a year ago, my friend Bob asked Michael and I if we'd be willing to help him move some sections of his old layout as he was going to redo his basement into a smaller layout room and also change the configuration of the layout into a more linear design. So we moved one section of what was his Chicago yard literally across the other side of the basement where he had already finished the walls and then turned it 90 degrees. In this rebuilding process of Bob's layout, he was also going to convert the layout to DCC. And of course, no move would be complete without some obstacles to work around, like this clean out pipe. So in that evening, we were able to move the layout and turn it to 90 degrees and then tuck the other sections that he wanted to save of the previous layout together so that way he could finish the other two walls to finish off his train room. By early December, Bob had the room completed and was ready to have sections of the layout moved, and then the big project was going to be to jack the layout up. He wanted to raise the layout up to a more comfortable height as the old layout sat just a little low. During this time when we met, we also thought, hey, it's probably not too soon to check out the DCC system and see if it's going to work with the existing wiring. However, before that could happen, a couple engines needed to be converted to DCC, so a few engines made their way home with me to put decoders in them and then take them back to Bob at the end of the month. During the Christmas break from school, I was able to get to Bob's house, and the primary focus was to drop off the engines I converted to DCC for him, but also to test out the Chicago yard to see that if we hooked up the DCC system, is all the existing wiring and that going to work before he continued to build on and connect to the rest of the layout. So we started simple with one little loop on the Chicago yard just to see if we could get something running.
Right now, you won't like sound.
Oh man. I won't be able to sneak down here and run trains anymore.
Yeah, we'll do some adjustments with the CV, but
It's actually pretty darn good.
no, I shut it off.
So the DCC system was working with no problem with the existing wiring from the previous layout, which was great. I gave Bob some tips that he could keep on moving with the wiring project, and we would be back again sometime in February to help him out. So on a very cold President's Day weekend in February, Michael and I headed back to Bob's to work on the layout. Bob had made some great progress on his own, getting all the Chicago yard area wired up and also building on the extension of the layout to connect all of the previous pieces together. So the day turned into kind of a shakedown of where there were still some wiring bugs and also laying track. I was put in charge of laying track from Stockton, Illinois to Dubuque, Iowa, while Michael worked on adjusting some CVs on locomotives.
I got a set left.
So on the left side of this peninsula, we have basically the countryside of Illinois. The right side, you have Dubuque, Iowa. Let's test out how this old school teacher lays track. So things up to this point seemed to be running well, and Bob would come back in time and drop extra feeders from the track to his bus line.
Because really, if you're putting one at Dubuque, do you need one right across the aisle? I mean, and you're about ready to hit end of the track before it dies. There you go.
So at this point, the railroad was pretty much wired from Stockton, Illinois, east to Chicago Yard.
So now if you want to,
all I gotta do is remember to redo it. So
yeah.
if I shut that down and went to the locomotive, then
So
I want
we
to
can,
enter in.
so we can just go in it.
Well, these, all you have to do is type 207, until we're waiting to get it down. Oh yeah, from the yeah. So we can hit forward and we can take the first wheel and we hit headlights.
So we were getting ready to have our first meet at Sycamore, Illinois.
Okay. Here, I'll switch this one back here.
How we doing?
We got a meet in Sycamore.
Piece of cake. I like those two bridges. That's gonna make a nice scene.
Yeah. Is here where Winston Tunnel's gonna be?
Right there.
Oh, okay, right there. Oh, then that's the bridge after this.
Yeah.
I got it.
So this is gonna be like it's probably gonna be like East Stockton.
And my train would continue into Chicago, go through the reversing loop, and could be already pointed to head back west again. And I left Bob's house with a few more locomotives coming home with me to put decoders in for him. We got together a month later in March, and Bob had really started clearing off parts of the layout, putting some structures kind of in their place, and it was basically laying the rest of the track and fine-tuning the railroad as we headed our way west to Oelwein.
All right, so somewhere along there, Bob drove in the Golden Spike.
Yep.
He just doesn't know which one.
I forget which one it was. I gotta get it out before the nightfall. This is a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
By March, the Dubuque yard was all wired up, and so we could now go from Dubuque all the way to Oelwein. Oelwein still needed to have its reverse loop installed, but that was pretty much a minor thing that we had on hand and installed it that day.
It's getting, I mean, I put this down a bunch.
I mean, clean track from beyond there, so it might start dying. Oh, I'm dead. Gave it a little love tap, and now it's moving. Oh,
Now you're
that's not good.
okay. This is the reverse. That one fell right into place.
It didn't take long to figure out why we were having shorting problems as the train was entering the automatic reverse loop that hadn't been wired up yet. But once it got installed, things ran much smoother in and out of the Oelwein yard.
Okay, you're gonna press that.
Yeah, the switch is thrown against me. All right. Well, and that might be the diamond itself, because isn't that a Shinahari?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's about it.
all right. So we need to get that automatic reverser in.
All right, let's do it.
The train's turned. I'm heading back to Dubuque, I guess. Oh, I just derailed. I'm done.
That was this one.
Yeah. Line up this one right here.
Now the automatic reverser has been added to the Oelwein yard, and trains were running in and out of there just as they should be.
Yeah, this was the one that came here. And then I can see the track used to come on about this far. Oh, they had to tear down some buildings downtown.
And since Bob was just getting started with DCC and the decoders and that, as I was doing installing, I was keeping a constant spreadsheet of what I put in his locomotives, and so he'd have all that information on hand.
But for the B, I put in 1162 for B being the second letter of the alphabet.
All right.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we went out and rode our bikes, and you know, all I was ever told is there used to be town out there. Well, there was remains of some buildings and stuff. The roundhouse was gone, but they lined up on this side.
Okay.
They had a couple buildings there that were nothing but cement walls, still standing with the window cutouts and everything. And then I could never figure out when I was a kid either was the. And my dad, back in the 40s, when he was in high school, he had me driving by. They dynamited the base for the coal tower, and he watched it implode. So when I was a kid, you go out because that was the city dump. We'd ride out there and see all this stuff. I love the sound of it.
My train made it from Oelwein all the way across the railroad to Chicago.
There. That doesn't have headlight, but it's got sound in it, so. Yeah, now I'm gonna switch back up for the game.
This is the longest passing siding on Bob's railroad, and I think he's going to find that it's going to be well worth installing. It was kind of an afterthought,
Got two more.
but after we were doing some test runs on the layout, it was definitely a need.
So is this like a impromptu op session?
I think so. Just to make
Shakedown.
some.
Shakedown?
Yeah.
Things this day were running really great. Both automatic reversers were running well. There was just some fine tuning of some switches that had some crud in them that just needed to be cleaned out. But for the most part, the railroad was running great. So the three of us ran trains for probably about an hour with no major problems. The only thing that we did notice is that probably having those circuit breakers added in the future is definitely a need. So Bob invited us back just a few weeks ago. He said, please bring some trains along with you. He had just finished installing what is going to be the kind of Rock Island branch line from Oelwein. And so the train is going to be kind of staged behind some larger structures in the Dubuque area, and then come to Oelwein to do its work, and then goes back to kind of a staging area at the end of a session.
I hit a button, all of a sudden sound starts going. Oh, you didn't know it. I didn't buy a sound unit. I bought a DC unit for the Wii. Well, so I thought they were both just DCC.
Yeah.
One was DC, but the other one was DCC and sound.
So this was kind of a shakedown session also of dropping cars off, spotting them, picking them up, just to kind of fine tune the railroad as well. So this is a Rock Island train basically doing a lot of businesses, or doing the service of a lot of businesses in the Oelwein area.
3 of them.
Supper club.
Oh, was it?
Well, are you talking on the east side of the road or the west side? East side. Yeah, it was a supper club.
So this is going to have a little bit of a learning curve of the Rock Island switching at Oelwein because of the reversing loop. So there's going to be kind of a long backing your train down after you are in the town, servicing, and then going out the other leg of the reversing loop to access the Rock Island track again.
No, he's got all the stuff based out of there, but then he's got like commercial space in there, so other businesses will be there.
Oh, so it's not just a.
No.
Okay.
But I don't know, he owns a ton of, because he owns a funeral home in Oelwein. Well, it used to be that Floral Hill was its own funeral home.
Oh, that little building?
The one north of that cemetery there, north of it. Yeah, with that was its own funeral
That's
home.
when you go to Montana.
No, it's this one's right as you go to Hazelton.
So as I ran the Rock Island local, Michael and Bob continued things on the Great Western side of the layout on the main line. Nice shirt. That's a great shirt.
Yeah, no problem.
So Bob had lost a bolster pin out of a boxcar, and well, needless to say, my train found it when it derailed as it entered back on the Rock Island trackage to go into its staging area. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video of my friend Bob's rebuilding of his Chicago Great Western layout. As always, thank you for watching, and always continue to tune in as I will have more railroad items to share in the future. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.